Hey guys, I'm tired today, and I have some allergies from outside. I'm gonna get through it though. It's been a little while. It's been a couple days. Had a busy week, and so I think the last one was on Thursday. Yeah. So well, it's now Monday. It is April 1st, 2024. So we're just gonna start off strong. So if you are willing to join me today, go to Matthew 14 verses 22 through something. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about when Jesus walks on water, and as Peter step out of the boat and him walk on water, you know. So I'm just gonna read that, then get my thoughts on it real quick because we're already a minute in. So it's 6 minute devotional. I'm just gonna start. Starting in verse 22. Immediately Jesus made his disciples get, and this is after. This is after right after he feeds the 5,000, I think, and yeah. So just some context. If you want to go back and read this is after he feeds the 5,000. The multitude's coming. He has his disciples go in a boat, and then he goes up to a mountain and prays. Yeah. Immediately Jesus made his disciples get into a boat and go before. Yep. See, and go before him to the other side while he sent the multitude away. And when he had sent the multitude away, he went up on a mountain by himself to pray. Now, when evening came, he was alone there. But the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was very contrary, or something like that, Verse 25. Now in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went to them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it is a ghost. And they cried out for fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, do not be afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter had come out of the boat, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid and began to sink. Beginning to sink, he cried out, saying to the Lord, Save me. And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him and said to him, O you of little faith, why did you doubt? And when he got him into the boat, the wind ceased. Then those who were in the boat came and worshipped him, saying, Truly you are the Son of God. And then, yeah. So that's a period of it's like 10 verses. So if you want to read that on your own, you can. And this is just Matthew's account of it. I'm not really good at reading in general, let alone on camera. So we're just gonna go off of that. So you can see that Jesus makes time for himself to pray and have time with his Father. So he sends his disciples across the sea after him. Right? These are fishermen mostly, so they know what they're doing. But the wind came and it was nighttime, so it was dark and it was raining. It was, and they were terrified. And honestly, I probably would have thought it was a ghost too. To see someone walking towards them on the water. Because your Messiah is not with you anymore, so you went to pray. He doesn't know you're there, right? And this is in the middle of the sea, so it's pretty far from land. They can't see the land anymore. It's dark out, so there's just a lot of fear. And when he says, "It is I," do not be afraid. You notice that's also what the angels say when it's when they meet someone. They're like, "Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid." Miraculous things just make people just make people scared sometimes, Anyway, and then Peter, um, he doesn't believe that it's actually God, and he's like, if it's really you, command me to come out of the boat and walk to you. And Jesus is like, okay, come on. So Peter does. It's just a walk. Does an okay job of walking. But then he starts to become more afraid. Starts to pay attention more to the wind that's boisterous. It's like blowing everywhere, rather than Jesus. All right. He starts to slowly sink. And now he believes that it is the Lord, so he yells out, "Lord, save me." So the only time he asks for he on the boat when he was safer and probably less afraid, he could have asked for the Lord to save him, but he didn't. He didn't. He asked for the Lord to prove that it was the Lord, right? To prove that it was him, to prove that he could. So he asked for the ability to walk on the water to him, and the Lord said, "Okay, you can," because he is the ultimate authority. So he walks on the water, and he starts to lose track of the person who's making him walk on the water. So he starts to sink a little bit, right? And he's getting really scared because they're in the middle of the sea when it's windy at night. Swimming's probably not a good option here. So he asks for the Lord to save him, and Jesus reaches out his hand and picks him up. And that's something that like hearing different sermons. Sometimes I don't hear people bring up how Jesus saves him afterwards. Jesus saves him. He picks him up by the hand. So, I like this. Putting ourselves in Peter's shoes, like myself. Sometimes when I feel the Lord's trying to tell me something, I'm Pentecostal. Okay, so I feel like the Holy Spirit works in many ways. Sometimes when I feel the Lord trying to tell me something, it's like a feeling in my stomach, like in the pit of my stomach, and I start to question if it's him. Like it'll be pray for someone or talk about something, and then when I don't talk about it, I feel so convicted. It's like, or when I don't do it, I feel very convicted. But sometimes he'll tell me to do something, like walk on water. There's this one time in in school, I was walking to the bathroom, and there was this girl crying outside her class. She was like sitting on the floor. She was crying, and I felt like it just came out of nowhere. I felt the Lord tell me to go pray for her. And usually it's prompted by a thought, and then when I think about it a second time, or when I think about it, then the pit comes inside my stomach, and then it just intensifies as I think about it. I was walking, and I walked past her. I'm like, okay, Lord, if it's you, if this is from you, I'll do it on the way back. Alright, so I went pee, did my business at the bathroom, washed my hands, and as I was walking back, she looked actually a little bit worse. She was kind of sobbing. And I kept walking. Sorry, that was my mom. Anyway, so she looked worse. I didn't end up doing it, just to make long story short. I didn't do it. She probably needed it, but I didn't do it. And it's because it's like I pray constantly for the Lord to use me. Pray constantly. Back then I prayed constantly. I feel like I prayed more back then actually, but I prayed so much to have the Lord use me. Like Peter's asking to get out of the boat. And then he steps out of the boat, right? I go to the bathroom. I'm supposed to be stepping out in faith in what the Lord wants me to do, like I've been praying. I didn't do what he wanted me to do. Peter loses track of the Lord and starts focusing on the other elements around him. Because of that, he starts to sink. Right? I didn't end up praying for the girl that needed prayer. And I felt so convicted afterwards. I got to class. I didn't really talk to anyone. It was physics class, so I don't want to talk anyways. But there's just a lot of ways that you can reflect this onto your own life. And if you stay focused on God, if you stay focused on the prayer that you're asking him for, and he presents you with an opportunity, if you stay focused on that and not on what could happen, not on your own fears, focused on God, Peter probably wouldn't have sunk if he had stayed focused on Jesus, right? Heck, if you just stayed focused on Jesus, the Lord probably would have made him walk on air, right? Because it's just molecules. You get my point. There's just a lot of ways. Maybe it's not prayer or the Holy Spirit guiding you to something, but in some way, it's not hard to figure out how to reflect this onto your own life. So just think about it. 10 minutes in, so I'm just gonna end it there. See you guys later.